In the rural old villages of southern Sweden, a beautiful tradition marks the darkest time of year. On December 13th, St. Lucia's Day, small villages come together for a unique celebration. The regional Lucia, a young woman chosen to bring light, doesn't stay in one place. Instead, she travels by train from village to village, leading a procession of song and light. Starting at dawn in the northernmost town, the train heads south, stopping at each station for a brief, magical ceremony before continuing on its way. It's a traveling celebration, a Lucia for everyone. The train, specially chartered and adorned with lights, is affectionately called the Lucia train. For 50 years, it was a beloved, anticipated part of the Christmas season. But in 2010, the Lucia train left the first station and never arrived at the second. It vanished somewhere on the rails between towns. This is the story of that train, of the passengers who boarded, of the Lucia who led them into darkness, and of the ghost train that now travels routes no longer on any map. The Lucia of 2010 was a 19-year-old girl named Amanda Forsberg. She came from Skirby, a tiny town with a population of just 200. It was Scry's turn to provide the Lucia, and Amanda had been chosen by carefully. She was honored, excited, and understandably a little nervous. She had never performed in front of crowds before, but she had practiced her songs and was ready. On the morning of December 13th, the train was waiting at Skirby Station at 6 in the morning. It was a beautiful sight, with lights strung along its exterior and festive garlands on every window. Inside, the seats were filled with other participants, the star boys, musicians, and Lucia's attendants. Regular passengers were there too, townspeople traveling to work, visiting family, or simply joining the day's celebrations. In total, about 60 people were on board. Amanda, wearing her traditional white robe and a crown of glowing candles, boarded the train. At 6:15, right on schedule, the train departed, heading south toward the next town, Malmo, just a 20-minute journey away. The train moved through the deep December darkness. Snow fell softly, blanketing a landscape that was barely visible beyond the train's lights, reflecting off the fresh white powder. Inside, the atmosphere was joyful and festive. Amanda led the passengers in singing, their voices filling the cars with the melodies of Santa Lucia and other Christmas carols. Everyone was happy, filled with anticipation for the celebrations ahead. The train was due to arrive in Malmo at 5:35, but 5:35 came and went. At 5:40, the station master in Malmo called Skirby, asking where the train was. The staff in Skirby confirmed it had left on time and should be arriving any moment. 5:50, still no train. By 6 o'clock, concern was turning to alarm. Malmo station contacted the railway company, who delivered chilling news. The train's GPS transponder had stopped transmitting at 5:25, just 10 minutes after it left Skirby, somewhere in the empty stretch between the two towns. The train had simply vanished. Search and rescue operations began immediately. Helicopters crisscrossed the sky, while police and railway inspectors scoured the route on the ground. They traveled the entire length of the track between Skirby and Malmo, looking for the train, for any sign of it, for any debris or wreckage. They found nothing. The tracks were completely empty, undisturbed, covered in a smooth, unbroken layer of fresh snow. It was as if the train had never even passed that way. There was no evidence of a derailment, no wreckage, nothing. 60 people had vanished without a trace. The families were frantic, and the towns were plunged into a state of shock and disbelief. How does an entire train just disappear? In the middle of well-traveled territory, with 60 people aboard? The investigation grew, attracting national news coverage. Wild theories began to circulate. Was it a sophisticated act of terrorism? A secret government cover-up? A mass abduction? But no evidence ever surfaced to support any theory. The train, its passengers, and its young Lucia had simply ceased to exist somewhere in the snowy darkness between Skirby and Malmo. And then the strange reports began to trickle in. People living near old, disused railway lines started reporting something odd. They'd see a train late at night, decorated with festive lights, moving silently along the tracks. But these were tracks that hadn't been used in decades, tracks that were overgrown with weeds and rusted from neglect, impossible for any train to travel on. The train itself looked wrong, too old-fashioned, a model from a bygone era. The sightings came from different locations, on different nights, but always between midnight and dawn. And they were always accompanied by the faint sound of singing, the ethereal melody of Santa Lucia, growing closer, then fading away into the night. The phantom train never stopped, never even slowed down. It just passed through. A ghostly procession on tracks that didn't exist, heading to destinations that were no longer on any map. One night, a witness claimed to have gotten close enough to see inside. He described passengers in old-fashioned clothing from different eras, the 1950s, the 1970s, the 2000s, all sitting together, all singing. They looked normal, he said, except for their eyes. Their eyes were empty, hollow, as if they were all caught in a shared waking dream. And at the front of the train, leading the unearthly choir, was a young woman in a white robe and a crown of candles. It was Amanda, the Lucia of 2010, still performing her duty, still leading her procession, forever traveling from town to town, but never arriving. The witness said he tried to flag the train down, to get it to stop, but it passed right through the abandoned station without slowing, without any sign of acknowledgement. It simply continued on its phantom route into the darkness. For the families of the 60 people who vanished, there was never any closure. The bodies were never found. The train never reappeared. The official investigation was eventually closed, the case filed away as an unexplained disappearance. The theories persisted, but answers never came. The beloved Lucia train tradition was discontinued. No town wanted to risk a repeat of the tragedy. The special train route was officially abandoned, the tracks left to rust and nature, but the sightings continue. Every year, around December 13th, between midnight and dawn, people see it. The Lucia train, aglow with lights, moving along phantom tracks. They hear the singing. They see the passengers inside, a collection of souls from different times, perhaps all the Lucias from every year, all the attendants, all the passengers who ever rode the festive train, now trapped together, forever traveling, forever celebrating, and forever falling short of their destination. Some folklore experts have proposed a strange and haunting explanation. For 50 years, the Lucia train had traveled the exact same route, at the same time, with the same songs and rituals. 50 Lucias, 50 processions, 50 years of identical tradition. They suggest that this kind of powerful, focused repetition creates its own energy, its own momentum. And on December 13th, 2010, the 50th anniversary, that momentum may have finally broken through the veil of reality. The train didn't vanish. It transcended. It became something else. A train no longer bound by physical tracks, or schedules, or earthly destinations. A train that now exists in the liminal space between worlds, between night and day, between the physical and the spiritual, between one town and the next, forever in transit, forever celebrating. Amanda's mother claims she saw her daughter one more time. It was 5 years after the disappearance. She was standing at the Skirby station platform on December 13th, at dawn, the exact time the train had originally departed. She says she saw Amanda standing there, wearing her white robe and candle crown. Amanda smiled, waved, and looked happy, at peace. Then, an old-fashioned train decorated with lights pulled silently into the station. Amanda boarded it. Just before it left, she turned back and mouthed the words, "I'm okay." Then, the train departed, vanishing back into the December darkness. Amanda's mother was the only witness. No one believed her story, dismissing it as the wishful thinking of a grieving parent. But she insists it was real, that her daughter is still out there, still fulfilling her role as Lucia, still leading the procession, just on a different route. A route that exists outside of normal space and time. So if you ever find yourself near old railway lines in the Swedish countryside, especially around December 13th, listen carefully in the hours between midnight and dawn. You might hear the faint sound of singing, distant, beautiful, and drawing closer. You might see a string of lights, moving steadily along tracks that haven't felt the weight of a train in years. Don't try to flag it down. Don't try to board. You can't. It's not for you. It's for those already aboard. For the passengers who have been traveling since 2010, and for all the Lucias who continue their endless procession. Forever in motion, forever singing, forever between destinations. The Lucia train still runs. Not on any schedule you can check, not on any route you can follow on a map, but it's out there, traveling through the dark heart of winter, bringing its own ghostly light and song to places that no longer exist. Listen for it. But whatever you do, don't try to catch it. Some trains aren't meant to stop. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dark content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling stories from the shadows of the North. Comment below and let us know where in the world you are listening from. Thank you, and good night.